simple but profound question. How safe is England today? This query resonates deeply across the country, from bustling city centres to quiet suburban streets. In many communities, there is a palpable sense of unease. People worry about the rise of violent groups and the increasing bitterness of public arguments over culture and identity. This essay will explore these tensions. It will examine recent events concerning extremism and the so-called culture wars shaping British life in 2026. The goal is to provide a clear, balanced overview, using factual information and acknowledging multiple viewpoints. It is an attempt to navigate a complex topic with calm and careful consideration. To understand the present situation, we must first look at a series of recent developments. The Labour government, since taking office, has initiated a comprehensive review of the nation's counter-extremism policies. Announced by the Home Secretary in October 2025, this process involves re-examining all previous expert findings to ensure that effective recommendations are finally put into practice. This move signals a potential shift in strategy, acknowledging that past approaches may require significant updates. The review aims to create a more effective framework for tackling the evolving nature of extremist threats, a task that has proven difficult for successive governments. The outcome of this review will likely shape policy for years to come. In a related but distinct action, the government has moved to grant the Charity Commission new powers. Charities are the lifeblood of our communities, and we will not allow extremists to hijack their good name. This measure is designed to allow the Commission to act more swiftly and decisively against organizations that may be exploiting their charitable status to promote hatred or extremist ideologies. This reflects a growing concern that some groups are using the goodwill associated with charities as a cover for divisive activities. The new powers are presented as a crucial tool for improving social cohesion and protecting the integrity of the third sector. Meanwhile, tensions have been visible on the streets. In Manchester, a march organised by the far-right group, Britain First, led to significant counter-protests. Groups like Stand Up to Racism mobilised large numbers of people, leading to a tense standoff in the city centre that required a heavy police presence to manage. When we discuss extremism, it is important to be clear about what the term means. In the simplest sense, extremism refers to holding or promoting views that are far outside the mainstream and often involve hostility or opposition to core societal values like democracy, the rule of law, tolerance. It can manifest as vocal opposition to these principles, but crucially, it can also lead to actions intended to harm others or undermine the fabric of society. This can include incitement to hatred, support for terrorism, direct acts of violence. The challenge for authorities is to define and counter it without infringing on legitimate dissent or free speech. The response from law enforcement and the government is multifaceted. The most visible part is the work of police and security services who focus on preventing violent attacks. This involves intelligence gathering, surveillance, operations to arrest individuals suspected of planning terrorist acts. As recent arrests show, this work increasingly involves tackling plots backed by hostile foreign states. A key part of the official strategy is the PREVENT program, which aims to intervene early and stop people from being drawn into terrorism. However, PREVENT has been controversial, with critics arguing it can stigmatize certain communities, particularly Muslims. Beyond enforcement, there is a strong emphasis on prevention and community-led initiatives. This approach recognizes that extremism often grows from feelings of alienation, grievance, a lack of opportunity. Therefore, addressing these root causes is seen as essential. The government has continued to fund schemes like the Common Ground Resilience Fund, which provides up to £5 million for targeted local projects aimed at improving social cohesion and integration. The concept of British values is central to many of these discussions. Officially, these values are defined as democracy, the rule of law, individual liberty, mutual respect, tolerance of those with different faiths and beliefs. On the surface, few would disagree with these principles. The controversy, however, arises not from the values themselves, but from how they are defined, framed, and applied in practice. The debate has become a key front in the wider culture wars, touching on issues of education, immigration, national identity, and creating deep divisions in public discourse. In the education sector, the promotion of British values has been a statutory requirement for schools for several years. Proponents argue that this helps to foster a sense of shared citizenship, resilience against extremist narratives among young people. They believe it is the duty of the education system to actively instill these positive principles. However, critics express concern that linking the teaching of values directly to a counter-extremism agenda risks creating problems. They argue it can lead to the stigmatization of pupils from minority backgrounds and conflate cultural or religious differences with a potential security threat, fostering an environment of suspicion in the classroom. Some political figures and commentators argue for a more muscular and assertive promotion of a singular British identity, often in response to concerns about immigration and social fragmentation. Conversely, others advocate for a more pluralistic and inclusive understanding of Britishness, one that celebrates diversity and acknowledges the complex multicultural reality of the country today. This group warns that overly nationalistic rhetoric can alienate minority communities and fuel the very US versus them mentality that extremists exploit. The government's new social cohesion strategy attempts to navigate this difficult terrain. It sets out clear expectations for everyone living in the UK, including the need to learn English, respect shared values, and participate in civic life. At the same time, it funds projects designed to support integration and celebrate diversity. This dual approach reflects the inherent difficulty of the task: how to forge a unified national identity without erasing the distinct cultural heritages that make up modern Britain. The debate remains unresolved, with different communities and political groups continuing to pull in different directions. While politicians and policymakers debate strategy from the top down, a great deal of important work is happening at the grassroots level. Across the country, local communities are taking their own steps to counter division and build social cohesion. These initiatives are often small in scale but can have a significant and lasting impact. They are built on the principle that strong, interconnected communities are the most effective defense against the narratives of hate and extremism. This work is carried out by a diverse range of actors, including charities, faith groups, local councils, dedicated volunteers who believe in the power of local action. One notable example can be found in London, where the Mayor's Office is funding innovative new programs. One project run by Protection Approach's British East and Southeast Asian Network will train over 1,000 Londoners to become active upstanders. The goal is to empower ordinary people to safely and confidently challenge intolerant or extremist attitudes when they encounter them in their daily lives. This approach moves beyond passive tolerance and encourages active participation in maintaining a respectful public sphere. It is a practical skill designed to make communities more resilient from within. In the capital, civic participation sessions, diversity days are being organised to help marginalised groups engage more fully with the city's institutions. These events take participants to various cultural and business landmarks, helping them to learn about London's diverse heritage and feel a greater sense of belonging. Similar work happens in cities and towns across the UK, where youth clubs provide safe spaces and positive activities. Volunteer-led groups offer English lessons and practical support to new migrants, helping them integrate into local life. Community projects that build trust, create friendships across cultural divides, and give people a positive stake in their neighbourhood can directly counteract this strategy. They show that an alternative to division exists, one based on cooperation, mutual support, and a shared investment in the local community's well-being. According to organisations like Hope Not Hate, far-right groups are increasingly tapping into local grievances, such as those seen in anti-migrant protests, to build support. The official response to extremism involves a complex interplay of policing, new policies, and a constant effort to shape public discourse. Lord MacDonald of Riverglavan is currently leading a major review of all public order and hate crime legislation, with his findings scheduled for release in early 2026. The rise of Reform UK and an increase in confrontational street protests have made the far-right larger, louder, and more confrontational since the 2024 general election, according to the anti-fascist group Hope Not Hate. This shift puts pressure on mainstream political parties to adopt tougher rhetoric and policies, which in turn can deepen polarization. In this charged environment, the way information is shared and consumed is critically important. The rapid spread of misinformation and disinformation online can amplify extremist voices and distort public understanding of complex issues. This places a heavy responsibility on individuals to be critical consumers of media. It is vital to check the sources of information, to question sensationalist claims, and to seek out balanced reporting from credible outlets. At the same time, there is an ongoing debate about the role of tech companies in moderating their platforms and the government's role in regulating online content without infringing on free speech. As we stand in March 2026, England is navigating a period of significant social and political strain. Finding a path forward requires a delicate balancing act. Security is paramount, but not at the expense of fairness, trust, mutual respect. Government's counter-extremism review, Lord MacDonald's hate crime review, will set near-term policy direction. Continued funding for social cohesion projects signals recognition that enforcement alone is not enough. Building resilience from the ground up, community work in London, community work elsewhere, remains a promising strategy. These local efforts help to mend the social fabric that extremist ideologies seek to tear apart. A constructive approach: remain calm, seek reliable facts, listen to a range of perspectives, support local groups that build bridges, volunteer for good causes, and engage in respectful conversation with different views. Resist the urge to share unverified or inflammatory online content. Protecting national security and shared values of a diverse society is a collective responsibility.